Good afternoon. This is Ronald Bird with another edition of Style Speaks. Actually, it's our holiday edition of Style Speaks. December, our last segment of the year. It's been an amazing year, by the way. But I am really pleased to announce a really special guest. This guy is amazing. He's got a lot of things going on. He wears many hats, although I'm glad he didn't wear a hat today because he's rocking these massive dreads over here. That he just made sure that they was tight for us today. But Mr. Chris Loar, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Nice to finally meet you, man. We met before, but to sit down, we haven't had an opportunity to sit down and chat like this.
Well, I really appreciate you giving me the invite to be here, and it is nice to sit down and chat. So.
Oh, definitely. And you came a long way. Well, where are you from? But where are you from? And then maybe it's different from where you came from today, but I know you traveled a long way to get here today.
I'm from Frostburg, Maryland.
Oh, you are from Frostburg?
Okay. Pretty well born and raised. I've lived in Missouri, Pennsylvania, and even in Hawaii.
Okay.
But I've spent most of my years in Frostburg, and it's 2.5 hours from here up in the mountains. Beautiful.
Wow.
Beautiful campus, Frostburg State University, and the arts and music scene is really starting to blossom. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, we're really glad you came. We're on the Howard University campus in the Blackburn Center in this great auditorium here, and fortunately for us, they haven't kicked us out yet because we didn't put. Did you put some money down on it? You didn't put no money down in the room. I gave him some money down on the room. And you paid for that. Okay, so we gonna make this quick before they start saying turning the lights down on us. But we're really glad you're here. So tell everybody, man. We know where you're from. Basically, I met you. Style Speaks did a red carpet event with another gentleman who was holding a fashion show, and you were one of the models in the show. And I think actually maybe one of the only Caucasian men in the show. And you stood, not only because you're Caucasian, but you stood out so with the dreads, and you just really rocked it. And I'm like, this guy really has, I'm sure he's got you just look like you had a story to tell. And I'm a storyteller. I love to listen to stories, and I really kind of wanted to. I knew at some point that I wanted to sit down and talk to you and say, why did this guy choose modeling? How tall are you anyway?
I'm right about at 6 feet.
Yeah. But you seem like you appear a little shorter. I don't know. It seems like you appear shorter than you actually are for some reason.
I think it really depends not only on the shoes that I'm wearing, but how much I've been working out.
Oh, okay.
If I get broader, I look shorter, and when I slim out, I look taller.
Maybe that's what it is. That's what it is. But you definitely rock that show. How did you get into modeling?
It's a really interesting story. 2.5 years ago, I started weightlifting for the first time ever in my life. I'd always done yoga, rock climbing, that kind of stuff. But I became so addicted to the transformation process and becoming just a better version of myself. And the friend who was training me posted my progress photos online, and everybody sort of started to notice, and people were talking, and next thing I knew, everybody's commenting, and a bunch of people were saying, you should go out for modeling, you should really go out for modeling.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of on my bucket list.
Isn't that how it always happens? That's how I talk, excuse me for cutting you off,
Sure.
I talk to models and people all the time, and I ask people how they started to do what they do, and someone always suggested that they should do this, and that's how they decided to do it. But anyway.
It was always kind of on my bucket list, I'll give it a try someday. And one of my good friends, Nadia, was actually a professional model in Los Angeles, and she said, just trust me, go for it, you can really make this happen. And I booked a shoot with a local senior portrait photographer. Okay. Just so I could get my first portfolio shoot.
You need to get something on the book.
Of course, and Bernie Hennigan up in Frostburg of Bernie's Photography did an excellent job. He's just a hilarious guy and great to work with.
Right.
And I posted those pictures on Model Mayhem, and next thing I knew, my inbox blew up, and people wanted to book shoots with me.
Yeah. Well, you have a different look, obviously. It's something that nobody else really has. So now, I could see the appeal, I could see the attraction. That it's like, I'm sure, they were seeing a lot of the same things that I was seeing when I wanted to talk to you. This guy looks like he's got a story, and he's just very different, ethnic, that kind of bohemian, very smooth, and you just have this kind of smooth demeanor. So you decided to do the acting. Somebody suggested that this was something that was going to work good for you. You pursued it. You did some, obviously some shows. Do you prefer the runway? I've seen you do runway. So, are you into the print work too? And how far into the modeling, and then we can actually talk about, some of the other things that you do outside of the modeling thing. But how far into the modeling did you go and you want to pursue?
I think it's really funny how quickly things blew up, because I sort of made the joke and I said, watch this take off and I'll actually become successful.
Right.
And I did. And I worked, one of the first big shoots I did was with fashion designer Marion Collier, who's based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and her work is amazing. And I just sort of commented and I said, do you have any guys stuff? Because I love your pieces and I'd like to buy something. And she replied with, well, how would you like to shoot for me, and maybe we can work something out.
Okay.
And so that was my first fashion shoot, and of course you get one of those under your belt, people see your work,
right.
People want to work with you.
Right.
I do a lot of print work, and I've recently, just over the last year, really been doing a lot more runway modeling.
Okay.
And I enjoy both. You know, going to a studio, setting up, shooting, grabbing that perfect shot, there's something that's amazing about that.
Right.
And when you get those shots back, you fall in love with what you've done.
Right,
You know?
right.
And there are always stories to tell, and stories behind the scenes, you know.
Right.
But then, you know, runway shows are just as fun, because you see people's reactions, you watch them get excited.
Right.
But I have this weird thing where every time I'm walking out onto the runway, I'm watching them clap for all the guys that are before me, and then I get out there and everybody's like,
okay.
because they're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like,
was he supposed to be in this show?
Right. You know, and they're like, wait.
Was he a last minute? Feeling right? No,
it's a white guy who's ripped with dreads, and I don't know what's happening here. And so it's always this sort of reaction.
That's funny.
And I had to ask some people one time after a show. I said, the look that I was getting from everyone, I was like, was I walking bad? And they were like, no, you were amazing. We just weren't expecting you.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, is that typically the case? I mean, are you typically the only white guy on the runway when you do fashion shows? I mean, is that, you know, usually the situation with the shows that you do?
It really depends. I mean, it depends on the fashion line, obviously.
Right.
It depends on if it's like casual dress, urban wear. I've been in a fashion show before where I was the only white guy there, but you know, there were Asian dudes. There was this whole just eclectic mix.
Very eclectic. Yeah.
And they're all, you know, I think like everybody's beautiful in their own right. So it was so cool to see so many different types of beautiful people, all repping this brand, walking the runway, and just sort of working together.
Right.
And when you do shows like that, when you travel, when you're part of a collaborative project, those people become your family.
Right.
And so you have this bond where, you know, you come up with nicknames for each other. So the Fashion at the Mansion show, you know, again, I'm the dude back there with the dreadlocks, the ripped physique. They started calling me Tarzan.
Oh, yeah?
It's not the first time I've heard it, so that sort of became like my nickname.
Okay.
And it's one that stuck with me.
Okay,
so
cool. Well, yeah, you definitely rock that, man. And I was probably one of those people that were maybe clapping before, and then when you came out, okay. No, I probably didn't. But I mean, that's amazing. I mean, I love stories like that, and just how you kind of, really kind of happened. I mean, I think it was, like you said, it was something that maybe that was on your bucket list of things to do, but to actually pursue it, somebody you really had to kind of say, well, you know, I think you can do this, and you know, you give it a try. So many people have actually done what they do, and hence how I really got started with doing Style Speaks. It was kind of sort of a suggesting somebody felt that I would be really good at it, you know? So it's interesting how that happens and how we do what we do, and find that it's really our passion a lot of the times for some. So
we owe it to our friends.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, definitely. So what's up, Pete? Who suggested it for me? So talk about a little bit about some of because you just don't model. And so, you know, you want to give people a little history as to just kind of sort of the other side of who Chris is,
sure.
and how that, in transitioning and kind of keeping in mind with the whole fashion and style piece. I mean, you do that professionally when you walk out on the stage and on the runway and do what you do. But you came here today. This is probably typical Chris. Wear here, and you told us a little bit of story about how you got your jeans all ripped up here, and the pink color going on here. So how is style and how is fashion a part of who you are?
You know, honestly, ever since I was a little kid, I've always...
There goes my notes.
Yeah, it happens.
Okay.
I've always sort of had this thing for wanting to not really just look nice, but to be happy with who I was.
Okay.
And I think that's something that everybody struggles with. You know, we all look in the mirror and we see things that are maybe not the best, or problems that we have with ourselves. And so as a young person, you know, I grew up with a lot of feminine influence. You know, my mom, my aunt, my grandma, and you know, fashion was sort of an understood and also kind of a push thing. Like, you should look nice and do your best.
Be presentable.
You know, stand out.
Right.
But what's interesting is it wasn't until I was like 15 or 16 years old that I finally woke up one day and I looked in the mirror and I was like, you know, I'm gonna love who I am and the way that I look. And again, 2.5 years ago, the weightlifting thing started. But you know, as I transformed my body and as I got into the modeling thing, it really did become important to not only hone my own sense of style, but to see, you know, well, like, this is what's going on in the world, this is what people want to see, this is who I am. So everything that I do with style and fashion, I always bring my own little twist in.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because I'm more than willing to do what's needed to do for a show.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a journey for me as a young person growing up, as many people struggle with, is learning how to love yourself. Because again, you look in the mirror, you see problems, people pick things out, you nitpick things yourself. And when I was 16, I woke up one day and I said, you know, I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to love who I am and what I see. And that was like the sort of start of my positive transformation journey. So from learning to love myself, from having the whole feminine background of, you know, dressing well, trimming your nails, you know, people nowadays call it metro.
Right.
When I was a young kid, that word didn't really exist yet.
Exactly.
But, you know, having that metro influence was great, but I sort of had to find my balance. And in getting in the gym, transforming my body, you know, you have the metro fashion background, now you've got sort of the body to back it up. And eventually then, you know, the dreadlocks came. And
Right.
So it was like completing a whole package.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you touched on the dreadlocks. So what did the dreadlocks come into? I mean, how long have you worn them, and why did you decide to go that route?
That's actually kind of an interesting story. When I was a little kid, ever since I was young, I've been obsessed with dreadlocks.
Is that right?
It's just the most unique looking kind of hair out there, in my opinion. And if you ever played Sega Genesis, you remember Sonic? Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, there was a character called Knuckles who was red, who had dreadlocks.
Okay.
And as a kid, I just remember being like, I don't know what that is, but I want that. So I had dreads before, moved to Hawaii, ended up cutting my hair short, you know, shaving almost all of it off, because every day when you surf, you're catching that water, it's getting in your face. So when I moved back home, it was kind of like starting a new chapter in life. I've grown my hair for over 6 years now, and I've had the dreads now for about 2.5 years.
Okay.
So it's all part of that journey of, in my mind, this is the ultimate image of everything that I'd like to become. And in my 20s, that's sort of been my goal, is like becoming everything that I ever wanted to be. And I think that's a beautiful journey. So.
That is wonderful. I mean, that's pretty cool for you to be able to sit here and say that, man. Not a lot of people get to say that, so that's amazing. That's amazing. So, well, I mean, it works for you. The look works for you,
Thank
definitely.
You.
I mean, it really does. I mean, it kind of works with the nose and the eyes and everything else.
And I've been asked questions too. People are like, "Oh, like, are you Middle Eastern? Are you Egyptian? You know,
yeah, what are you?
And I'm
Where
like,
are you from?
I'm like, I'm a little bit of everything.
Right.
But
yeah.
I get a lot of paid gigs as a result, because you get photographers that reach out to you and they say, you have this amazing physique, but not that Ken doll haircut that everyone else has.
Right.
We want to shoot with you. You're memorable.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it definitely works in your favor. Definitely works in your favor. Well, I mean, as you grow, I mean, what do you want to ultimately do? Let's get to the goal and kind of sort of the aspirations, and what do you want to do next? What's up with you?
I mean, I have a lot of projects, you know, that are currently happening or on the back burner. Right now, as far as my goals for modeling, I really would like to just continue to travel, see the world, and work with really, really talented professionals. Because the most fun part about this journey, not just the pictures that you get back, the portfolio that you build, but it really is the traveling and the memories and the experience. And, you know, I came from a very small town, and our family didn't have a lot of money, so the fact that photographers were willing to pay to fly me to Miami and Chicago and New York, and you almost feel like you're already rich and famous.
Right.
You know, but I think the ultimate goal would be to establish myself enough to where that's an everyday thing, just taking off, traveling, flying, seeing the world, and getting to make amazing photographs.
So, I mean, that seems to be working for you, so why not keep it going?
Right.
So what's on the books for you next? Tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on, what's your future projects and all that stuff.
Well, right now, currently, if you go to facebook.com, you can type in Chris Loar Modeling. So that's my name, Chris, last name Loar, L-O-A-R, Modeling. That's also my Instagram. So check out Chris Loar Modeling on the web, and I'm also on modelmayhem.com/Chris Loar, again, L-O-A-R. So check out my stuff there. As far as what's coming up, I just finished a very, very strict workout program and regimen. I'm taking a vacation from shooting for the whole rest of the month of December, from working out, all that stuff, just taking a break. But come January, I'm going to book as much new fashion work as I can. I'm heading out to Chicago to do some really cool fitness and anatomy work, which
Okay.
I'm very much looking forward to.
Okay.
And I've recently got into doing some body painting and projection photography.
Okay.
So it's really, this next year I think is going to be about broadening my horizons, not just who I work with, but the types of projects that I'm taking on, because I don't like to do just all fitness, and I
Right.
don't like to do all fashion. I like to do as much as I can,
Okay.
because you learn and you create amazing work, and a lot of times the stuff that comes out of it is so much better than what you expected, or things that you would have never expected you would have done.
Wonderful. Well, you're amazing, man.
Thank you.
You're definitely. I mean, you're bigger than life, man. I definitely saw some big things in you. Obviously, some talent in you that day on that runway, man. And I just kind of knew you wouldn't disappoint in a one-on-one conversation, and you didn't.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, buddy. Well, thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Ramon.
I appreciate you taking your time out today. You came a long way.
Yes, sir. But
And
it was
worth it. You gonna
Yeah.
hang out in DC a little bit, or you going back home?
You know, I love DC. It's been good to me. This is where I do most of my shooting.
Right,
I got
right.
a lot of friends down here. You know?
But you going back home, ain't you?
So, no, I'm gonna hang
Oh, you
out.
gonna hang out?
I'm gonna hang out.
Oh,
Stick
okay,
around.
okay.
So,
This
yeah.
man came 2.5 hours away. Well, thank you. This has been the conclusion of our holiday edition of Style Speaks. It's been an amazing year, and we got some super surprises coming up in January with Style Speaks and a new addition to the Style Speaks brand, doing some model agency kind of stuff going on. I'm not going to talk too much about it now, but look out for some things coming ahead. And until then, happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.